Hi, welcome to Vegetables, day 83. So today, I would say was a pretty good day. I had lots of energy, didn't have very much back pain, and didn't participate, but watched a seminar. And I'll tell you about that in just a few minutes. But I started my day out weighing myself. First thing in the morning. I actually remembered to do that. And I weighed in at 238.4. Yay! And then I just weighed myself again about an hour ago, and I was 239.7. So continuing to stay under the 240 mark. Yes, 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 yes. So on the menu today, I had peanut butter and banana oatmeal for breakfast. Okay, for lunch, I had a salad kit. It was a Fresh Express salad kit called Sunflower Crisp, and I will put a link in the description box below. It is a chopped salad, which I really have found I like those a lot. And as you can tell by the package, it has green cabbage, romaine, kale, red cabbage, carrots, a dressing. It's an onion dressing, and edamame. What was really nice about the edamame is they were dried edamame, which, if you don't know, edamame is just soybeans. But they were dried, so they added just a little bit of crunch, like a crouton would, but they're better for you. It had an Italian cheese blend made up of Romano, Parmesan, and Asiago. And then it had sunflower kernels and quinoa. The serving size is 1.5 cups or 100 grams. And it said there were 3 servings per container at 190 calories per serving. So I just went ahead and ate the whole thing because that's all I had for lunch, and it was really delicious. So the calories would be, let's see here, 190 times 3 is 570 calories. And for a meal, that's not bad at all. It had 12 grams of fat per serving, so it was a little high on fat, but most of that came from the cheese and the dressing. It had, 12 grams per serving, so yeah, that would have been 36 grams of fat, so a little high on the fat. For the sodium, it had a total of 810 milligrams. Not bad, I guess. And then protein, there was 21 grams of protein for the whole salad. And I'm sure a lot of that came from the edamame. But I did learn that even vegetables have protein in them. And I'm just looking over the ingredients list a little bit. The fat would have came from, like I said, the dressing, because as with any dressing that you buy on the market that you do not make yourself, it's mostly canola oil and sugar. And then there's egg yolk. So the canola oil, the egg yolk have fat in them. And then soybeans, of course, they have quite a bit of fat in them. The cheeses the milk. And let's see if there's any other, oh, and even the sunflower kernels. Uh, they were sunflowers roasted with sunflower oil, so they had oil on them. So, you don't think it's going to be that much, but it really does add up very, very, very quickly. And then the quinoa was just quinoa, nothing else to it. So if I would have left the dressing off, could have saved quite a bit of fat and calories. But overall, it was really good, and it was definitely a healthier choice than I could have made otherwise. And then for dinner, I had this. And it was okay. Very similar to the first time that I had made the pickled onions and lime crema. I don't remember what it was called. It may have just been chicken fajitas. But it was with chicken instead of the carne asada, which is actually just diced steak. And it wasn't quite as good this time, and I don't know if it was the seasoning. I don't know if it was the way I cooked it. I mean, it tasted good. It just wasn't as good. It wasn't, oh my gosh, this tastes so fantastic like it did the last time. But not bad. Not sure if it's something I'll make again. But, we'll see. As far as steps, as you see, I don't have it on. I've been doing dishes and laundry all day, and cooking, so it's come off, it's come on, it's come off, it's gone on, and it just happens to be off right now. But as far as steps so far today, should be pretty good. Yeah, it's 3,433. At one point, I even had my watch in my back pocket, just so I could record steps. And that's an equivalent of 1.5 miles. Okay, and then the only other thing that I did today, this morning we did get my husband's mattress delivered. So I did do some, tidying up before it got delivered. I washed all his bedclothes, so he'd have fresh bedclothes on a nice new bed. And done a couple other loads of laundry. Besides that, well, one's in the dryer, the other one's in the washer. But two loads of bedclothes, so it's a total of 3 loads washed and dried, and another load at least washed. And did not go anywhere. But the other thing is, like I said, I watched a presentation, and the presentation was on a rare form of cancer called Myelodysplastic syndrome. Sorry, I had to take a moment to say that correctly. And I took a few notes, but and the information I'm getting right now is from Mayo Clinic, so I'll put a link to the website in the description box below. But myelodysplastic syndromes, it's shortened MDS, is a group of disorders caused by poorly formed blood cells or ones that don't work proper. It's a result from something amiss in the spongy material inside the bones where blood cells are made, which is your bone marrow. Treatment usually focuses on reducing or preventing complications of the disease and its treatments. And in some cases, treatment might involve chemotherapy or a bone marrow transplant. Some of the symptoms, it's typically the nurse from, the presentation was given by an oncology nurse from Bristol Myers Squibb. And what she basically said is that it's diagnosed primarily by a bone marrow biopsy. And with the MDS, there's a there's a pathologist that specializes in blood cancers, is the best person to take a look at it, because they're more likely to catch it, because it is so rare that it gets missed quite a bit. But she said that the bone marrow typically will have both normal and abnormal cells. And typically, someone with leukemia, let me back up a little bit. With the abnormal cells, these cells will clone, and then your bone marrow ends up having too many. And typically, if more than 20% or more of your cells are these abnormal cells, you're diagnosed with leukemia. But then, and these are a special kind of cells called blast cells. Let's see if this one doesn't talk about it as far as, the blast cells and what they are. But with MDS, the blasts are typically between 10 and 19% of your bone marrow. But because it's kind of like a precursor to leukemia, it can develop into an acute leukemia. And there's, three things that oncologists will look for when diagnosing MDS, and that is a decrease in white blood cell counts, dysplasia of the cells, that basically means they're malformed, and then look at that percentage of those cells being blast cells or not. And causes, we'll go back to Mayo Clinic. So essentially what I just said is that something disrupts the process of the bone marrow making new immature cells that mature over time. So something disrupts that process and the blood cells don't mature. Instead of developing normally, the blood cells die in the bone marrow or just outside of the bone marrow. And over time, these defective cells begin to outnumber the healthy cells. And the risk factors for MDS are older age, which I'm living proof that typically age is a factor, but just because you're younger doesn't mean you can't get it. My disease, my chronic lymphocytic leukemia, was typically termed an old man's disease. I was a young 43 woman and got diagnosed with it. So, again, risk factor doesn't necessarily mean just because you're not that risk factor doesn't mean that, you know, you're not going to get it. Another risk factor is treatment with chemotherapy or radiation. And the drug that I was on, the ibrutinib, is technically not considered to be chemotherapy. It's more of a targeted therapy. But since one of the side effects of ibrutinib is other types of cancers or secondary cancers, unfortunately that puts me in, you know, in the risk group of getting this as well. Also, there's exposure to certain chemicals such as like tobacco smoke, pesticides, industrial chemicals such as benzene, and benzene is used to make paint. A very common use of it is to make paint. So, you know, they might find that people who work in paint factories will end up getting this syndrome. And then exposure to heavy metals, such as, you know, like lead and mercury. Complications of MDS. She talked a lot about anemia. A lot about it. Also recurrent infections, uncontrollable bleeding, and then again, you know, the risk of once you have this syndrome, it develops into you know, blood cancer or some type of leukemia. But it was, you know, it was just very interesting information. And like I said, I'll put a link to the Mayo Clinic's website below. But you know, if you'd like to have even more information, I'll also put the link to the MDS Foundation and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's websites, so that you know, if you're interested in learning more about it, you can get those from those links on those websites. Well, that is it for today. I hope you find this very informative and that you continue to enjoy my videos every day, just to see, you know, hey, what scenes you got for me today? So, and also please comment, like, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload the video every day. And then in the meantime, hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.